Talk to you guys about Noda time. Noda time is probably the best way to deal with dates and times in your applications. Has anybody ever used the date or time of any kind? Something none of us have to deal with, like what time is it? Noda time is a library by this guy, John Skeet. Pretty smart guy. I think he's done a lot of good work on something called Stack Overflow. He also is the author of C# in Depth, and I know he loves Noda time and dates and times because he wrote the library. So I thought I'd get an unbiased opinion. So I went out to the internet and I found a few opinions about Noda time. It is a comprehensive set and date and time data types. It has pretty much everything you could want for time zone support in your applications. Time zone support is actually something that's pretty important, given that most applications nowadays we write target the internet in some way, and we are all over the world. And you might be thinking, well, some of this stuff is built into .NET already, isn't it? So why do I need something like this? Well, I can't tell you everything about Noda time in 5 minutes, but I can talk about one aspect of it. So I'm going to focus on time zones. Okay, so time zones are tricky things. Time zones are not a number. You cannot have a time zone that is +5 or -7. That is a time zone offset. That's part of a time zone. Time zone has much more to that. Time zones in Windows, probably what you guys are used to. They look something like this when you go into your date and time control panel. Problem with this, of course, is those are all in English, and not everybody speaks English. If you have people that speak other languages, they see things like this. So what do we do as developers? We come up with an abstraction, and we come up with IDs. And these are the IDs in the Windows registry that map back to all of those things. This is circa Windows 95. Just so you know, and we are still using this today. This is what you use when you use the time zone info object in .NET. Not really designed for modern applications. This is the time zone info object in .NET. This is how we might load one of those, Eastern Standard Time being the time zone ID for the East Coast, even though it also encompasses Eastern Daylight Time. Very confusing as you are doing your programming. The internet has a much better way of dealing with this, and Noda time offers both ways. So you can use the BCL time zone provider for the .NET base class library, or you can use the TZDB provider, which uses the IANA time zone database. So the IANA ID for the Eastern time zone is America/New York. These are standardized, so this is not something that we made up. This is coming from IANA, who gives us our IP addresses and our protocol registries and all the other things the internet uses. It actually predates the Windows identifiers by quite some time. There's a whole Wikipedia article about it, and you can go see that pretty much everybody except Microsoft uses it. So we kind of should be also. But most people just think about that when they think time zones. Time zones, I don't know. I'm just going to keep doing what I've been doing. So I thought we'd make this a little bit fun, and let's see if we can identify some of these Windows time zones. Let's play a game I call Name That Time Zone. Are you ready? You ready to play, everybody? Okay, so I'm going to give you an IANA time zone identifier that makes sense. Everybody should be able to figure out where this is from. This is the actual identifier for Sydney, Australia. Is that in Windows? Is it AUS Eastern Standard Time, or is it Australia Standard Time? Can anybody figure that out? Okay, raise your hands if you think it's A. Raise your hands if you think it's B. Yeah, a little mix of both there. Both of those have Australia and Eastern, so it's kind of strange. The answer on that one is A. B would be Brisbane. And Brisbane is also on the east coast of Australia, but Brisbane does not do daylight saving time, and on Sydney does. Aren't you supposed to remember that? Shouldn't the framework kind of do that for you? Let's do one more here. So we've got Dubai. That's in the United Arab Emirates. Is it Arab Standard Time, Arabic Standard Time, or Arabian Standard Time? These are all three valid identifiers in that registry list, and this is what we rely on. Anybody? A, B, C? I'll just kind of run through them here. It's actually C. You should have known that. A is Baghdad, and B would be Riyadh. That's Saudi Arabia, I believe. So this gets a little crazy when we think about things like UTC, which is actually something we all should know about. People get UTC and GMT mixed up all the time, so you'll see GMT Standard Time, Greenwich Standard Time, and there's actually one out there called UTC. So it's crazy when you see people and they say, well, yeah, this should be UTC, but actually we get Europe, London picked all the time. London actually is in England, which is also where Greenwich is, but the whole continent does do daylight saving time. They call it British summertime, and UTC does not. So you can't just say GMT is the time in Greenwich, because half the time of the year, Greenwich is not on that time zone. So it makes sense to have standard identifiers. The third one there was Iceland, just so you know. And lastly, and this will be the end here, what about Paris? Most of Europe has these standard times. Is it Central European Standard Time or maybe Central European Standard Time? Actually, that might have been a typo. I think it's... I'm done.
I gave you 30 seconds, actually.
Okay. It's actually Romance Standard Time, just so you know. So, yeah. Zonk, don't use Windows time zones. Use Noda time, and you can come talk to me. I'm on Pluralsight and on Stack Overflow.